Allow crisis energy to collapse. That's today's title. My name is Brent. If we've never met before, I'm a coach, a healer, and intuitive. And what I'm going to share with you today is an insight that's hit me over the last 24 hours, hit me like a ton of bricks in the best possible way. It has created a release valve on my nervous system. So just so much tension that I didn't even know was in my body, because it had been mounting tension over months and months that I just gotten used to it. I didn't even realize it was there. There's been a release valve that's been pulled on it to allow all of that tension to dissipate. I feel so much more relaxed. I feel like I could collapse and fall asleep at any point. And so before that happens, I want to share with you what I've come to learn, what I've come to know, and to share it with you to see if it'll help you as well. So we're going to be talking about crisis. We're also going to be talking about manifestation. And like another title that I was playing with for this video is the missing piece about manifestation, because there's a mistake that I and so many people make about manifestation that we don't need to make anymore, that will actually allow manifestation to work for us if it's not been working for you. So that's exciting too. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to do my best to keep it short. And let's see, is there anything to say? No announcements to make, so let's just dive in. So here's the story. Over the last couple months, I've been in a bit of crisis, a bit of business crisis. And this is probably in some part due to the economy, which is sagging. But also I've just been in sort of a psychological crisis mode for a long time. And so every time a new month comes around, I'll approach this month like, okay, I'm going to really go for it. I'm going to try new things. I'm going to put out a bunch of content, and I'm going to really go for it. I'm going to give it the old elbow grease. I'm going to really make it happen this time around. And so I'd go into the month with great gusto. I'd create a plan. I'd have habits and routines and rituals and all these things that we talk about on this channel and elsewhere. And none of these things really seem to be doing it, talking about the flow state and presence and the now and all these things. Nothing was really doing the trick, and I was getting really frustrated, like, what the hell, what's going on? And so just yesterday I was listening to a podcast, a Tim Ferriss episode, an episode off of the Tim Ferriss podcast, if you're familiar with him, which you may be because he's quite famous. And he featured Elizabeth Gilbert, the writer who made Eat, Pray, Love, among other books. And she was talking about her practices with prayer and journaling and God and setting time for herself and setting boundaries and her solitude. And it's a very, I'm still not done it yet, but it's a very magical episode. It's really beautiful. I recommend that you listen to it. I've recommended it to my email list. It's just a very blessed episode. It has a lot of really wonderful godly vibes in it, as any discussion about God does. And somewhere in there, I noticed myself really starting to relax. I felt my nervous system starting to unwind. There was like kind of something happening in the background, but I didn't quite yet know what it was. And it finally hit me in my own personal journaling session just last night, where I was just writing some stuff out, doing some channeling, which I also do. And it became clear to me all of a sudden that I find myself in a state of deep psychological need. So there's what's constantly going on in my mind is I need more, I need to do more, I need to become more, I need to have more, need. And need sits very heavy in the psychology. It sits very heavy in the nervous system, to the point where anybody who operates from need, you can know for sure that this person has a very wound up nervous system and a very heavy psychology, and they operate probably from a lot of crisis in their lives. That's just what happens when you operate from a place of need. And so moving through crisis, I was taking an approach to it where even as I was in crisis on a more meta level, I wasn't fighting too much against the crisis. So crisis is happening and there's worry and there's a sense of time running out and the walls closing in on me and feeling afraid, and all this is happening in my experience. But as I go through this experience, as a result of my practice in trusting in the unfolding of life, I actually approached this crisis with a position of like, okay, I'm willing to be in crisis. I'm willing to let this crisis play itself out. I'm willing to allow the karma of crisis to occur. And so I'm not even necessarily fighting against the crisis anymore. I'm just observing as it unfolds and goes in tighter and tighter circles. And then finally it hit me that I have an assumption about myself and about my life and about my situation that I just don't have enough. And because of that assumption, all of the decisions that I'm making and all of the actions that I'm taking are taking from that assumption of I don't have enough. So here's where we can get to the real insight. And this is where you can start using it in your own life. You want to look at the word since. This is very interesting. Since. So, since I don't have enough, I therefore need to try harder. To take a different example, since nobody loves me, I need to work on my personality to make myself more lovable. Or to maybe do a third example. Since I am so unhealthy, I need to have a better diet and I need to sleep better in order to be more healthy. And so you'd look at that, any person would look at that on the surface and see nothing wrong with it. You'd see a lot of self-empowerment in there. But there's a problem where when you buy into the assumption of I'm unhealthy, the assumption of nobody loves me, the assumption of I don't have enough, then whatever comes next is an attempt to out-create your own creation. Now, we hear in the zeitgeist all the time of your thoughts create your reality. And this is an unfortunate statement because it has a lot of people afraid of their own minds and policing their own thoughts and saying, I know I shouldn't be thinking this, I shouldn't say this kind of thing, but I'm thinking it nevertheless. It's not your thoughts or even your habitual thoughts that create your reality. It is your assumptions that do. And what's important about the assumption is that an assumption is something that you it's an idea that you look at and you purchase as a belief, as like something that you think is true. And then once it's done, it goes into the back of your mind as an unspoken, silent framework that you're operating from going forward. So you don't even think about it anymore. It's not a thought that occurs in your mind. It's just the reality that you think that you're in. And then, of course, this gets tricky because then once you believe an idea, once an idea comes to you and you believe it to be true, then your unconscious mind and your creativity obviously starts going at work to, through confirmation bias, create more ways of supporting this framework. So again, it doesn't even feel like a belief anymore. It's just reality. So this puts us in a tricky position where if we want to out-create our assumptions and we want to really use the power of manifestation, then we need to out-create our assumptions. And it's tricky because there's so much confirmation bias, depending on how long we've held the belief, that it feels like we're just questioning reality. It feels like we're just questioning gravity. It's like there will be real pushback from the ego, which of course the ego will always do. The ego always defends its beliefs because the ego always defends how it sees reality being structured because it feels very threatened by losing its reality structure. So, getting back on track. Yeah, so the word since. So looking at any of these examples and looking in the case of mine, I don't have enough. What I realized I needed to do as this was becoming clear to me is I needed to find a way to look at my reality and see it not as a series of, not as like a room that's like walls that are closing in on me, but seeing it as enough, seeing my situation as a stable situation, seeing myself in a boat that floats as opposed to a boat that's sinking. And so I did. I just kind of, I realized that, yeah, things can get worse and things can get out of control, but really everything's in control. I have this, I have that, basically everything's stable, everything's good. I'm in a sustainable place. And so therefore, with that little piece of space opened up in my psychology, I was able to finally start saying these magic phrases to myself that really brought in the deep, deep relief. And it's this: there is nothing that I need. I don't need anything. I don't need anything from anyone. I don't need anything. There's nothing that I need to do. There's nothing that I need to have. There's nothing that I need to accomplish. There's nothing that I need to manifest. There's nothing that I need to create. There's nothing that I need to say. There's nothing that I need. I have no need. Saying that, holy smokes. So what's cool about this, what happened immediately as I started, I was writing this out and saying it out loud as I was writing out, I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need anything, just as I was saying to you now. And as I did that, what was funny was there was relief, but in addition to the relief was a sudden awareness of how incredibly tight my neck is and how contracted my stomach is. Where like it's almost by finally starting to release the tension in the neck and in the stomach, it actually becomes clear I've been tensing in these areas for the last 3 months, 6 months, who knows, maybe even the last year. And it made me also become aware of this pulling motion that I've been exerting on life and on people, just everything that I do. Like I'm really honestly like doing my best to like just put out value and be a service for everybody and focus on service. And so much of my psychology is oriented around service. But just, for the sake of honesty, there's also been this like pulling motion, trying to get attention, get likes, get follows, get subscribes, all this pulling, right? And I have no doubt that as a result of all of this pulling motion, it would create an effect of like, even if it only registers unconsciously, like kind of in the background, it would register as like, oh, this guy's trying to get something from me. And it would make it would make it difficult to trust me, I imagine. So that was quite a thing. That was quite a thing to see. And so since then, like just, throughout the night, last night and continuing to this morning, I've been practicing saying, I don't need. And what I notice is that as I continue to say, I don't need, I don't need, I don't need, the unwinding and the opening just gets better and better and better. It makes it clear to me now. So like it's tricky because I'm talking to you about manifestation and I expect what I'm sharing with you to really work for me. I expect just through the looseness and the reversing of this energy where I'm now kind of pushing out instead of pulling in. I really expect it to work. Nevertheless, the proof is not yet in the pudding. I can't say for sure. But it does make sense because if your assumption is, I suck, I'm an idiot, I'm an asshole, my life is failing, I'm a disappointment, I'm a failure, I'm not doing enough, like really look at the assumptions that you hold. And a way of discovering the assumptions that you hold is by looking at the way in which your life is lacking. So if it's easier, you can just ask yourself, in which way is my life lacking? What don't I have enough of? In what way do I feel like time is running out? In what way do I feel like I'm in crisis? In what way do I not feel stable or secure in my life? And whatever that is for you, you will be able to find your core assumptions about life, about yourself or about life. So if you're down, like if you want to do this now, like just take a minute or pause the video if you have to. Take a minute to look at what assumptions you have. And the assumption may be, I'm not doing enough, I'm not working hard enough, I'm not loving enough, this or that. I guess enough is like a very operative word here. And then just flip it around, just like I'm doing enough. And you'll know that you're doing right, again, if it has a positive effect on your nervous system, if it feels good to say, if it feels like a breath of relief, if it feels like a smile, if it feels like laughter, sometimes a yawn as well, like just, oh, you feel like your body opening up a little bit. And then what's cool about that is that it means that you're no longer contracted, you're no longer fighting for something. It means that that which is coming to you can flow to you. I'll finish up with this. Yeah, I think we're not going too long. This is nice. I'll finish up with this idea. I've been trying to reconcile my ideas of manifestation with Matt Kahn's ideas of manifestation, because everything he has to say about manifestation and the law of attraction really confuses and, quite honestly, upsets me because I don't get it. So like conventional manifestation is like use your imagination, get into a good emotional place, visualize what you want, see yourself having it, express gratitude for having it, et cetera, et cetera. And like this really, really works. But what Matt Kahn has to say is he'll tell this story he sometimes says about he was like playing with manifestation himself, and he needs to go to a mall or a store, and he like manifests for himself like the perfect parking spot. So he like visualizes it just as I was describing, and then gets there, and voila, the parking spot is there, and he's like, oh, I see, oh, this is great, my manifestation worked. And then this intuition hit him, where he said, the intuition told him like it was already going to be there. Like, the manifestation is just like an egoic form of control that's not really a real thing, and it was always going to be there. And so now, if I recall correctly, he doesn't really use manifestation so much, and his prayer is, may I just simply receive that which is coming to me. This is similar to what I was telling you earlier about the crisis energy thing. It's like, okay, let this crisis play itself out. If there's pain, if there's confusion, may I have this confusion, may I have this pain, may I experience it because it's here for me to experience. May I see the gift in it. And so I really respect that, but I don't understand it because it still seems like manifestation is something that works. And so here's the resolution that I found. Here's the reconciliation. Okay, here we go. This is really good. It's like, if you're in crisis energy, if you are operating from this assumption of I need, and like you don't question the belief of I need, it's just like in the background and you're like trying to outcreate the need, then all of the attempts, even at manifestation, will be a form of force. It will be you will be off center. Your efforts will not bear fruit. It'll be more effort than what you get out of it. And the effort will be short-lived, and it will require willpower because you have built your own treadmill and you're running on your own treadmill. And as long as you don't approach that original assumption of I'm not doing enough, I don't have enough, then you will just continue to live in this reality of I don't have enough. So we can call that manifestation inside of crisis. So out creating the crisis, collapsing crisis energy is when you say, oh, I see, crisis is just a form of hypnosis. It's just a conviction that I'm in. And so then you look at it and say, oh no, actually I have enough. Despite how it seems, I have enough. I'm doing enough. And then just give yourself a chance to act from that place. Like in other words, you ask yourself, like, what would I do if I had enough? Or even better, since I have enough, what do I do? How shall I conduct myself now? And then you'll find yourself inspired to take some form of action it's so much more balanced and based and wholesome and good and enjoyable, and you'll be in flow with it. And so I think this is the most mature way of approaching manifestation, because really, really, Matt Kahn is correct about this. He's a spiritual speaker. If you've never heard of him, please look him up. He's amazing. If you learn manifestation and treat the universe like a vending machine, it's not going to work. It won't work out in the long term because that's not the universe's role for you. Your part of the purpose of your life is to also not get what you want so you can experience growth and growing in consciousness. So sometimes you get what you want, sometimes you don't. But by operating in this deeply trusting psychology of I have what I need, I have what I need, I don't need anything, there's nothing that I need, then it positions you to receive that which is coming to you. And this is a much more mature way of viewing manifestation. So good. So thank you for following along with that there. That's all I got to say on that. Nice and short, a little bit all over the place, but you can see how all the concepts kind of play together. I'm gonna keep going with this. This is still like a new kind of psychology that I'm playing with, but I'm going to keep working on it and maybe talk about it a little bit more in the future. If you want some one-on-one work, if you want to talk about this with me and you want to plug this into your life, get a one-on-one session. Information for that below. If you want to join the Sovereign Creators Collective, we speak all about self-empowerment, sovereignty, living according to your own authenticity, finding the wherewithal to express your voice, your art, to not be afraid, to bring fear to a close, to be a leader in the world. That's what we do at the Sovereign Creators Collective. You'd be invited. And that is all. I'll catch you on the next one. Please hit the like button. Now that's all. Thank you.